Mother living at the Marbella apartments on Weber is speaking out. She says mold is growing through the walls in the unit beneath her and no one warned her. Our Myra Cordova spoke with her today and brings us the details.
You're letting us move in and knowing that we have kids.
A mother outrage.
My blood started boiling.
She says mold is growing in the unit beneath hers.
The neighbor, he knocked on the door and I stayed upstairs with the baby and my boyfriend went downstairs to go see what he was talking about.
These images showing what appears to be mold on walls, cabinets, and doors.
I felt disgusted. I didn't even want to be in there. I was scared I was probably going to fall through.
She says that explains the foul smell in her home.
I've been cleaning and I used a lot of bleach and all that, and it still doesn't come out.
Her biggest fear, her 10-month-old son. She tells us he's constantly sick. Now she knows why.
I'll take him to the hospital and they'll say, well, he's congested and his cough sounds bad.
The mom's also 6 months pregnant. After speaking with management, she claims they told her it wasn't mold. She doesn't agree.
I had a plumbing problem, so it was leaking. So that forms mold when it's damp, and then knowing that there's no light or AC going through down there, that forms mold. That's what I told her.
Since the unit's been under construction for months,
I see people go in there from time to time.
She's angry no one warned her of the dangers.
They can't tell me that they just saw it last night.
Instead of switching units, she's looking for a new place.
They probably have it back here too, and they just covered it.
But wants to warn others about the living conditions.
They just want our money. They don't care about our health.
Myra Cordova, Action 10 News.
Myra did reach out to the Marbella apartments. They could not comment on much, but they did say that contractors are working on fixing the unit.
Desolate conditions at one Aurora apartment complex have residents fed up. Now they're contacting Denver 7 for help, saying the conditions they're forced to live in are unacceptable.
Denver 7's Christian Lopez is looking into their concerns tonight and trying to get some answers.
I don't even call this home. I call it the building.
Tenants who live at this Aurora apartment building say they've had enough.
We're families. You guys have a bunch of families in this place.
Alyssa Alva says she's been dealing with no heat and mold for months. So you've been in an apartment without heat with a baby?
Yes, I have.
For how long?
Since November. I've told the managers since the first week I lived here about the mold.
When you reach out to the managers, what do they tell you?
Oh, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. That's all I hear from them.
They also sent us these videos and pictures showing leaks, foundation damage, pieces of the ceiling falling off, flooding inside apartments, and piles of trash.
There's families here, there's babies, and they don't care. They're not doing anything to help.
Residents at the Fitzsimmons apartments reached out to us because they are fed up with all of the issues they're facing in their apartments. It wasn't until we got here that we realized just how bad that situation was, to the point where we felt unsafe on this property. I contacted the property management company, CBZ Management. Their number went straight to voicemail. I also reached out to the City of Aurora's Code Enforcement Department, and I called the apartment on-site managers. I'm a reporter with Denver 7. I had several residents at the Fitzsimmons apartment complex reach out to me because they're dealing with several issues at the building. We are doing a story on this today and we wanted to get a statement from you. I haven't heard back from any of them. Tenants are hoping this will help shed light on the issues so they can finally get some help. What is your biggest message to property owners and the management?
What are we paying for? Like, you guys are charging us so much and you guys are literally not doing anything. Do something. Do something that's right. Stop all this nonsense.
Reporting in Aurora, I'm Christian Lopez, Denver 7.
After coming home from a long trip, a Valley family discovered their apartment was overgrown with black mold and that they had a roach infestation. 8 News Now investigates as the family is now forced out of their home. Latoya Barnes, her husband Dante Gilmer, and their 3 young children were forced to leave their apartment and everything they own after the place was completely infested with black mold. This happened in the Central Valley at the University Gardens Apartments north of Flamingo Road and University Center. The family says it's not a safe place to stay, as the mold has grown over the walls and floor, and roaches have infested the entire unit. Barnes claims the mold was there before, and she asked the complex to fix it, but says they never did. And once they left for a 3-week trip, It got out of control. We reached out to the apartment complex. In a statement, they said in part, Westland University Gardens takes all appropriate actions to provide a safe community and environment for our residents, maintenance technicians, staff, and vendors. They also claimed that Barnes did not allow them to enter the apartment without her there, and said when they told her the unit was no longer livable, she became, quote, angry and belligerent. She then proceeded to verbally and physically assault the management staff, end quote. The company said it wants to resolve the issue as soon as possible. Barnes had another version of that confrontation and said she was trying to keep office staff at a distance during a heated argument. She says she is now speaking with an attorney. For that full statement and a closer look at this story, head to our website, 8newsnow.com.
Watching out for you tonight, one family in Pueblo is struggling to find a new place to rent, and not because they can't pay it, but because they found black mold. News 5's Natalie Chuck joins us now live from the Pueblo Housing Authority, who also say they're noticing the problem with finding rentals in the city. Natalie.
Right, Allison, they say they've had a backlog for months of people needing assistance because they simply can't find them anywhere to live. And now one family who's only been living in Pueblo since June is back to square one, trying to find a place to rent.
Layers of laminate floor. There's another layer of laminate floor, then they put some subfloor.
Jessie Zimmerman and her family moved into an apartment in Pueblo West about 1 month ago.
Not long enough to be moving again.
She says they moved from Denver because the city was so expensive, but not before searching all over the state for somewhere to rent.
We had gotten here to be settled, and we'd been trying for 3.5 months. I finally found this place. It seemed perfect.
Perfect, until she noticed a wet spot on the carpet that turned out to be black mold. Now, Zimmerman says the health department and her landlord need her out to do repairs.
And they said it was okay enough for 30 days, and then we have to be out. And that's it. There's no September 1st. It's just be out by midnight, August 31st. So.
But 30 days to find a place to rent in Pueblo is easier said than done. The Pueblo Housing Authority saying the people they service are also feeling the pains of finding a place to live.
We actually have about 1,500 vouchers assigned to us by HUD, but we've only been able to utilize 1,302. That's because there's just no place for these folks to find housing in Pueblo.
And Zimmerman knows she isn't alone in her problems.
I'm just calling around, but so is everybody. And everybody's got a story, and everybody's having a hard time, and I mean, they don't really care about that. The property managers don't care.
Right now, she says she's just hoping to get lucky.
I guess if there's anybody local in Pueblo West area that has, I don't know, a 2 or 3 bedroom that would be willing to let us stay there. I mean, I pay rent. That's not a problem. I have good references. I just need a place.
And the Pueblo Housing Authority says realistically, they don't know what the solution to this problem is. If you have any advice or want to get in contact with Zimmerman to send some help, you can reach out to me at natalie.chuck@koaa.com. Always watching out for you, Pueblo. Natalie Chuck, News 5.
University Heights woman is fearful for the health of her family. This as mold grows throughout her apartment.
And News 12's Josiah Darnell is giving us an exclusive look at what it looks like right now and her fight for better living.
Honestly, I'm tired of feeling sick, being sick.
Betsy Ildefonso says she's been dealing with a mold issue in her apartment since last year when there was a leak in her apartment just off of Andrews Avenue. And when she brought it to her superintendent's attention, she thought the problem was solved.
I had mold before. The super came himself. He wiped it down with some Coca-Cola on the wall and then painted it over it, and that's all they did.
Now, she says the mold is back and worse than before. It's on the window sills in her bedroom, it's in her closet, on her bed, and on her walls. She also tells us she tested the apartment and found that mold was in the air. Ildefonso lives with her daughter Amanda, her 1-year-old grandson, and her 2-year-old granddaughter. And she says they all have been affected by the mold.
My asthma's gotten worse. I've been coughing a lot lately, more than usual. My granddaughter's been coughing, the baby's been coughing, and it triggered my daughter's asthma back.
Ildefonso says she's been trying to reach out to her superintendent to have someone fix the problem, but there has been no responses to texts or phone calls.
internet extension 100.
HPD has also been in to inspect the apartment and have issued 2 violations for the mold, one in September and another one on October 23rd. And with visits to the doctor piling up, Ildefonso and her daughter cleaned up what they could to make conditions better, but they just want the mold gone.
Whatever they need to do, just I want it to be done.
A rep from the building's management tells us they have gotten in touch with the tenant and said they plan to have someone visit the apartment on Wednesday. In University Heights, Josiah Darnell, News 12.
It's full of mold on the weights. The books all have mold on them.
Mold growing on several things throughout Traker Williamson's apartment.
This is just mold. It's just mold growing on everything. The hats, the mold growing there.
She did report it to her apartment complex, and several crews came to address the problem.
They checked for moisture, of which they found an excessive amount. And so what you hear in the background is dehumidifiers that they left here to run in an apartment.
Despite the efforts to stop the growth, she continued to find issues throughout her apartment.
At that point in time, I was concerned because I didn't know at that point in time whether the mold was going to be dangerous to my health.
When I reached out to the apartment complex, a representative said they've taken the matter very seriously, and when a third-party company tested the unit, it was their understanding the results showed the types of organic growth non-toxic. They added they repeatedly offered to move her to a different unit or break her lease and move out completely, and also offered her compensation to clean her items.
For me to try to replace a couch, especially with today's inflation, the tables, I have mold on the cables on my television. It's everywhere.
When it comes to tenant rights in North Carolina, attorney Mariah Yanez with James Scott Fair Law Firm says it's tough.
There's no specific guidelines on mold in particular on a North Carolina landlord, but the North Carolina landlord does have a duty to make sure the rental is fit and habitable.
She says the key is for the tenant to take pictures and video of the issues and report it right away.
They typically have about 30 days to fix the situation unless it's an emergent situation. My biggest recommendation is to document. So if you have that verbal conversation, just follow it up with an email.
And don't just stop paying rent, as that could actually hurt you. Look at your lease and see if it has specific steps you need to take if you do discover mold. I'm troubleshooter Diane Wilson, ABC 11 Eyewitness News.